we often just show up and record, but today we were like, wait a second, we don't look good. Are we going with the flow or not? But it's a really good topic. We are the frequency effects with Veronica and Kim, and we are grateful to have you here with us. So take us down the journey, Kim. What are we talking about?
I love it. Yeah. So we did an episode, I don't know, a couple times ago, and it could have found its way into the last one. I have no idea. I'm not sure. And about compromising, we were talking about compromising and how sometimes compromising is a great thing. It's a tool, but sometimes people compromise and it becomes almost like a bypassing, right? So it's always about checking in. What's actually true for me here? What is it that I would really like to do? And so instead of always compromising or never compromising, there is a balance in it, and it is a very powerful way to show up in the world. And so, yeah, after we did that call, I was like, jeepers, could have brought in this, what would you call it? This thing that you hear in circles, going with the flow. And it is the same and similar topic as compromising, but again, it's also noticing where we use it as a bypass, because I don't want to have to make a choice, so I'm just going to go with the flow, right? As opposed to also being one who maybe creates the flow, right? And so, yeah, going with the flow and creating the flow, right? And so, when I first got into all of this kind of stuff, wait, let me back up. I didn't get into it. It got into me. Let's be very clear about that. This term of going with the flow was such a term that if you didn't go with the flow, it was almost a thing where you didn't belong. It truly was this thing where you didn't belong. If you didn't go with the flow, then you didn't belong. You were more like an algorithm interrupt. Right? And so, yeah, and also people would decide that you would actually hear people having comments, and I'm sure I probably did too, that the people who don't want to go with the flow, they're not spiritual or whatever that is. In actuality, when I check in with what's actually true for me, it's actually a choice to go with the flow or not. So I'm going to pause there, Miss V, and see is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I have an echo with you, so I'm just going to mute you. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept because you're right. When there's been periods of time in the last few decades as we are looking at the evolution of spirituality and consciousness, and where there's been chapters where it's been heavily emphasized that we just go with the flow and we follow, and there's a lightness in that, and there's a surrender in that. We talk a lot about surrender, right? So it can get a little bit confusing because it can seem like, okay, I'm supposed to surrender to what is. I'm supposed to just allow life, God, the universe to guide me. And so whatever comes my way, I will just release the oars and just allow my boat to go down the river. But there is, as we always say, it's also about being in tune with our own truth. And sometimes our own truth is not about going with the flow. And sometimes whatever life is presenting us is it's a catalyst for us to create our own new awareness of something and to take the to the oars of the boat and to start to steer it in the direction that we want to steer it. So it really comes down to, in every moment, consciousness of what is being presented to me, the ability to tune into our own truth and to look at, okay, what will this create for me, and is it in alignment with my truth? Is it in alignment with my heart's desires? Is it in alignment with what's right for me? And do I need to step into that leadership role and direct where things are going, and stand strong in my truth? Or can I actually go with the flow? I've been, as recently, we're planning a little girls trip in the next month, and I truly didn't care where we were going. All I cared about was, being with the girls. And so in that case, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go with the flow. It doesn't matter to me, right? But there are other circumstances, like, for example, where it comes to my daughter and her well-being, where perhaps I do want to stand up and advocate for her, for what I know to be true, even that if that's not what the system is presenting to me. So it really is about, in every moment, finding a way to really tune into your truth, look at what life is presenting to you, and get clarity about what will this create. Is going with the flow in support of my truth, or is it contradicting it?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And like you said, when it comes to, like you said, your trip, you don't really care where they go. And guess what? I bet you would care if they were going to go live in a cave for a week. Right. However, I know that that's not even something that would be on the table. And so there is there is that. And it's kind of like, I think, no wonder there's so much confusion with people knowing what's even true for them. If we just keep going with the flow, right? How can we even experience and experiment with what's true? Right? And so it can easily be a cop-out, I'm just saying that, from having to make a choice. Right? Because what if I'm the one that makes a choice and it doesn't end up to be a good choice, and I have to take responsibility for that. And so it's just easier for somebody to let other people, you decide. I remember, and there's nothing wrong in that. It's just noticing if there is something, like if you really didn't want to go to a cave for a week, you would be voicing that, right? And so it's just noticing, yeah, there are times when I really don't have a point of view about it, and I am totally, willing to go with the flow. I'm not compromising what's actual true. And I love that you brought the surrender piece in, Veronica, because I was like, yeah, this is about surrendering. And surrendering isn't about I give up. Surrendering is about, yeah, we're being with what is, in a way that allows us to receive more information, right? So that's not resistance of what is. And it also isn't just throwing the hands up and not giving a poop, which can be how people show up I'm just going to go with the flow, right? And so when people don't know what's true for them, and they don't want to be the one to voice the thing, because that girl or that guy always does, sometimes we got to be willing to also self-lead, right? And so, yeah, going with the flow is a beautiful tool when it applies, like you said. So I remember I was at this 5-day event, and the woman who was the facilitator of the event, her and I hit it off as soon as we laid eyes on each other. And after the event, we would go to supper, the two of us together, and all the things, right? And it was hilarious because we were both just going with the flow, right? And so we would meet after supper, after the class, and it would be like, well, where do you want to go? Oh, I don't know. Where do you want to go? Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to go with the flow. Well, me too. Oh my God. We would spend or use so much time, neither one of us making a choice. And it just went on and on. And that was when I went, wait a minute. Neither one of us are taking a leadership role here. And it was actually true in the moment where I didn't have a point of view about where we went, and neither did she. And it just went around and around and around. And so it was a go nowhere situation. And we both were aware of it, that we were both doing that. And we laughed about it. And yeah, so yeah, there is the going with the flow, and then there's going with the flow, and then there's being the one where somebody sometimes needs to take leadership. So imagine, Veronica, you have a pretty big role in corporate. Imagine if everybody was waiting for somebody else to voice what the flow is even going to be. Right? Like somebody has to be the one, right? And yeah, that does come with, a little bit of responsibility, but just in the way of an experiment. Okay, I chose this restaurant and yeah, it sucked. Okay, is that your fault? No. Everybody said they wanted to go with the flow, and as an example, and it wasn't a great restaurant. Okay, cool. Now we get to know what's true, a little bit more of what's true. That's not the restaurant for us. Cool, let's move on. Now what? So there is no wrongness in being the one that creates the flow. Mm-hmm. There is no. Some people, it might feel like pressure or a little bit of stress, but it's just about, you know what, be the one, stand up and take the lead. Sorry, you were going to say something there. Mute me.
Yeah, no worries. I was just thinking about how, there's certain people that are, I think like, the names are escaping me right now, but very prominent figures who have there's a certain number of decisions that our brain can make a day. And I don't know the facts behind this, right? But so there's people that were like Steve Jobs, for example, where he would wear the same outfit every day. I think, and maybe I'm confusing people here, because it took that one decision out of his brain, right? And so the Simon guy from American Idol too was the same thing, right? It always wear the same thing because it's like, okay, my brain doesn't have to make this decision, so I could focus on these decisions instead. And I'm thinking about people in my life who all day long are looking to control their circumstances. So they're the leader in every single aspect of their life, and they have zero go with the flow. And what does that create, right? Like a very, very hyped up nervous system. You can't control everything. So you're always like, there's always that feeling of friction, of like depletion, of override. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's, that just go with the flow of everything. And now to your point, there's zero leadership in your life. And, things just kind of like, there could be chaos, right? There could be chaos and nothing's being created. So it's like looking at where am I trying to control too many things and that's not serving me? Where am I trying to let too many things go with the flow and that's not serving me? And what really is a priority for me? What really is my heart, my soul, my spirit, my body wanting to create in this lifetime? And how can I allow myself to take leadership of the right things in life and also allow other things to just go with the flow so that I'm not trying to control too much, which is going to create chaos for myself as well.
Yeah, that control thing is a big thing for people. Right. And yeah, it's about making choices, really being willing to make a choice. And as an experiment, meaning you make a choice, and if it wasn't a great choice, doesn't mean you suck. Don't make it mean anything about you as a person or as a human. It's just an experiment and we're just trying it on. And yeah, I love that. Yeah, like you said, it's like, some people want to make all the choices. So it's knowing when to lean in and when to kind of lean back, and if it really does matter, then being willing to voice that. It's kind of like, I forget where I learned this one, but I thought it was just such a cool thing. So a lot of people don't make choices because they're so afraid that they're going to make a wrong choice. Again, if we could just see it as an experiment, that can take that stress out of it. And so one of the things that I was shown, I can't remember who showed, it might have been through, I don't know, anyway. It was okay, so imagine you have a coin. So you've got a group that is trying to go, I don't care where we go for supper. I'm using supper because it's easy. I don't care where we go, McDonald's or the keg. McDonald's, and you're like, yeah, I don't really care where we go either. So imagine you have a coin and you're going to flip the coin. Are you secretly hoping? So heads is McDonald's, tails is the keg. Which one are you secretly hoping for? And that is such an easy, for me, an easy clarity of, oh my God, of course I'm secretly hoping for the keg, right? And so sometimes when we do the go with the flow, it almost puts like this fog, if you will, or there's something in front of us, even knowing what we, oh, there goes one of my lights. Thank you for lasting as long as you did. Let me pop up the other one a little bit more. Oh, it's all good. Yeah. And so, see, I just went with the flow. I could have been pissed off that my light just went out. It's like, okay, now what? Boom, let's do this. Right. And so, yeah. And so it's about, so when it comes to, I'm not sure what I want to do here, get the imaginary coin, assign heads to something, tails to the other, and imagine that you're flipping it, or actually get a coin, whatever. And which one are you secretly hoping for? That is such a cool tool. And yeah, what are you secretly hoping for? And then try that out, try it on, experiment. And there's no such thing as wrong choice. There's simply not making a choice because we have so much fear. Oh, I made so many choices in the past that didn't actually work out the way I wanted it to. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now what? Right? Did you learn from that? Anything about what's actually true for you? What about, oh, whatever that was just went, gone, done.
No, I love what you're saying, Kim. And actually, neuroscience tells us that that there is a process in our brain called value calculation, where in our brain network, it actually assigns a worth, an assessment of worth to options based on our past experiences, based on context, based on our goals, based on what we've identified through past experiences as what's important for us. So what you're talking about there is really cool, because you see that happen where it's like, okay, let's flip a coin, but all of a sudden you're like, your brain already knows. And likely your brain obviously is in communication with your heart as well. So it's not just a logical computation, but there's a communication with your heart and your brain and your body and your brain. And so what is truly of value to you is communicated before it even comes into your awareness. So it's fascinating that, and there's also, neuroscience also says that there is a depletion that happens when you are when you're making critical decisions. There's a depletion that starts to happen in your body through the day, which ties to what I was talking about earlier. So you really want to think about the decisions that are important to you, so that when you are making those decisions, you're using the right resources within your system, and really focusing on what it is that you want to create in your life.
I love that you brought that in. That is so cool. Yeah. And again, like you said, the flipping the coin thing is an in the moment, what's actually true for me today, right? I love that. That's very cool. Thank you for bringing that in. Yeah, I was hoping whatever it was that went was going to come back, but it didn't. Yeah, so going with the flow, just noticing where we do it, because we don't want to be the one to make a choice. Just notice where we do it as a cop out, but then notice, are you disappointed after in what choice was actually made without you offering your what's that word? Yeah, well, input. Jeez, God. Yeah. So have some input. Be willing to have some input. And if other people don't agree with you and something else, that's okay. It doesn't mean anything about you as a person, as a human. It doesn't mean you don't belong. Right. But be willing to put your input without trying to shove it down someone's throat as well. Right. Without being that control thing where it's like, yeah, be willing to voice your input. And if it happens in a different way, that's okay. At least you voiced your input, because often when we don't, and it goes a different way, we're like, yeah, I never get what I want. Oh, cool. Did you actually offer or say what it was that you would have liked a choice? No, I was just going with the flow. Because, hey, isn't that the cool thing to do? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? No, yes and no. So, yeah, it's kind of, so I think what this conversation, I'm hoping, is bringing more awareness to where you're going with the flow, or just being that, without actually connecting to what is actually true for you. What do you actually want? Jeepers, the universe can't deliver, God, whatever you want to call it, what it is that we're asking for if we don't even have something we're asking for. It's kind of like picking up the phone. Mom, hi, mom. Oh, wait, I didn't dial the number. Right? You got to make the phone call, right? And so you got to do your part. We do have to do our part. And yeah, the surrender part comes in sometimes when, yeah, it shows up differently than we thought it would. I know what it was I was going to bring in, and it lost. It was like, so sometimes when things don't show up the way that we thought they would, or whatever, in hindsight, often we can go, oh my God, and because of that, this happened. Right? And so for example, like, how many times have, in hindsight, in the moment, things didn't go the way I wanted, went with the flow, it didn't work out with me, but because of that, maybe now I have more truth of what works for me and what doesn't. Maybe because of that, I am now willing to be vulnerable enough to actually share my input, regardless of the outcome. Can't be attached to the outcome, right? That is also part of the surrender thing. But yeah, often it's always the because of that. So for example, today, we were going to have a guest speaker. She wasn't able to make it. We didn't decide we weren't going to record. We went with the flow, which we do every time we show up on these. We don't, we'll have like 2 minutes or 5 minutes before we show up live with each other. Let's talk about this. Okay, cool. And then we just go with the flow. We don't have it mapped out. We do not have these conversations mapped out. We're just going with the flow. Right. And so, yeah, when our lovely lady couldn't make it today, it's okay. It didn't work out the way that we wanted to. And because of that, we're having this conversation. Right. And so when we can look at, and sometimes it's like years later when we go, yeah, that divorce was horrible and ugly, and I wasn't going to do it. And I did. And because of that, oh my God, my life is whatever, right? So it's often in hindsight that again, knowing when to go with the flow, knowing when to not to, and leaning in, knowing when to lean back, and checking in what's actually true for me. Boom, imaginary flipping the coin, or flip the coin. What are you secretly hoping for? That'll give you truth in the moment. And again, you can have that truth, make the choice. Doesn't work out the way you might have thought it would or hoped it would. So what? So effing what? Right? It doesn't mean anything about you. It just means now you're learning more about what's actually true for you and what isn't. Next. And because of that, now I'm learning what's more true for me and what isn't. It's a golden.
I love it. Thank you so much. It's all like, what if everything is happening in my favor? What if all of it is happening in my favor? And where do I want to stand up and lean in and lead? And where do I want to go with the flow? It's about conscious awareness. So thank you so much, Kim, for the conversation. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us, for listening, for watching, for liking, subscribing, commenting, all the things. We love to hear from you. And if you think that this could benefit anyone that you know, we appreciate you sharing, as that helps us get out there. As you may have heard, we have a beautiful offering called The Unstoppable, which is a 2-on-1, a 3-way, 3 months with Kim and I. You can walk with us. We walk with you in life, and we do all the things together. It is a luxurious, energetic coaching container, and we would love for you to inquire if you're interested. Thank you so much, Kim, and thanks everyone. Until next time.
Ta-ta for now.